Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to talk about repairing an old PC. Trust me, the biggest hurdle you're going to find when you're going to do this is just getting things working again. Sometimes you can improve them, and sometimes you got to deal with parts that are just really caked on with dirt from either cats or dogs or just the environment they happen to be in. Happens all the time. So we're going to show you the graphics card, and then I'll show you the rest of the system, and then I'll come back after I clean it a little bit. So first, let's have a look at that graphics card that was in there. So this is the graphics card. You can see how the dust is kind of caked on everywhere. And I think it's actually done damage, because when I turned it on, it was making a god-awful noise. So I think that one's pretty much done. We're going to replace it right now temporarily. I'm just using a graphics card, the GeForce GTX 770 that I had laying around, just to make sure everything was working. But it doesn't stop there. So just to give you an indication of the noise, and I'm got the mic probably about a foot away, so just keep that in mind. I'm going to turn this on, because at first it wouldn't even turn on because the CPU cooler somehow was removed. I don't even know how that could have happened, but it was. Somebody probably took it off thinking they could fix it and didn't know what they were doing. I give them benefit for giving it a try. I haven't cleaned this yet, by the way. I'll be doing that. But I did clean the CPU, put on a new cooler from Intel that I already had from, well, not new, but from long ago. I put that in there. It's all good to go. But wait when it starts up, okay? First, the graphics card was loud, but now the power supply, listen to this. Hear that? So that power supply is on its way out. We're going to replace it. And, yep, we got some work to do. And it does boot up at least. That's the main thing. As you can see here, it's booting up. I even got it to go to Windows. So that's the main thing that matters, just booting up to Windows. So one of the things I'm going to do, I'm going to replace the power supply. Obviously, I'm going to clean it first. I think this is an older one, but if it's not, one way or the other, I may or may not replace it. And then we're going to have to rewire everything. And so some of the parts I've got, I'm going to just show you. So the other thing is it's taking forever to actually load. So that's a simple fix. We'll change the mechanical hard drive that was in it to an SSD. So if you don't know, an SSD is much faster than a hard drive, mechanical hard drive. They weren't using all the space on this, not even close. So a 1 terabyte is more than enough for their needs. It'll speed things up quite a lot. This is a really old system, but they just want it back fixed, and just so they can use it for doing the web searches and maybe watching some TV or whatever with Netflix. So that's what we're going to do. Okay, so what I got here is I got the new drive for the DVD drive, because they had one, and so I'm going to give them back what they had. We're going to use a Teamgroup GX2 SSD, 1 terabyte, comes with a 3-year warranty. We have a wireless, because it doesn't have wireless, it's been using a wired network, but this will give him the option to be able to do that, should he choose to. I asked him, he did, so that's what we're going to do. And of course, I got a power supply. The one that's in it was good enough. This is just about the same level of on par, I guess you'd say. So it'll do more than enough for this build, for what's in there. So the next part is going to be just taking everything apart, replacing the power supply first. But basically I'm going to take the power supply out first, clean it, and then we'll do everything else. Okay, so I took everything, cleaned it all off. This is brand new, so I didn't have to worry about that. But it cleaned and wiped, and it's the best I'm going to be able to get. I would like to be able to replace the case if I had one to replace it with, but that's not something I get too often. So all we got to do is put everything back in now, starting with the power supply. So we're going to put that down here first, get that secured. We had to take a lot of our cables off, because it's just what you got to do. And yeah, we're going to go ahead and do that. Have you ever seen one of these? Now that tells you how old the motherboard is. That is very old indeed. But everything else, pretty much the same. Still got a 24 pin. Actually, this might be a 20 pin. I'll have to check that. And an 8 pin for the CPU power. So we're good to go. Let's start the process. So this is our power supply. It's certified 80 plus bronze, which is more than enough for what we need. 120mm fan. Yeah, there's not much to be said about it. We're going to have a quick look at it though, just for any of those that are wondering about this. Now, this is not one of the most top-tiered power supplies out there, but it will get the job done. All right, gives you a little user manual. Don't see that too often. Of course, your power cable, power cord, all your extra cables, everything is attached. It's not modular. I know I usually try to do that, but you got to work with your budget. So it's all wrapped in bubble wrap here. We'll get that off. So the nice thing about this is it's all black sleeved cables. There's no more relish. I don't know if anybody even does that anymore. So beauty of that. Kind of looks kind of cool. Very simple. Nothing too much. Color's not bad. And for those of you that are interested, there's all the specs. And that's it. And the thing I like about it, it's small. It's going to go back in here like it did before, and we won't have any issues. So this power supply comes with both the 20 and 424, which is the main systems today. But it even has the arrows to tell you where it separates. So if ours is only 20, we just separate this, plug that in, and we're good to go. So that's kind of nice. It has all our cables, everything on it what we need. SATA, everything. Yeah, it even has Molex. So there's nothing lacking. Now the only thing I would say about it is the power supply cable is not very long, but it should be good for what we need. So let's put that in. So all I did is feed all my cables out the back. Put that in here, goes underneath this little lip, and yeah, it actually looks pretty decent, really. And we're going to put our 4 screws to fasten it in. All our cables are all down here, ready to go, everything I need. And we're going to start plugging everything in. Put our graphics card in. I don't think I need to replace the DVD drive because I cleaned it out pretty good. But we will check it to make sure it actually even works. After that, we'll clone our drive and put the SSD in. As long as it takes for this to boot up, it should be a noticeable difference after we're done. So unfortunately, one of the things I've run into is where our 8 pin for CPU power is. I have to take the motherboard completely out because there's no gap in this case to feed it through behind here. There's just not enough room. Even when I thought I'll separate the to 2 4s and feed it through, still doesn't work. So that is going to have to take the motherboard out, feed it through, and then put it back in. Just one of those other things sometimes you have to do. One of the other things is sometimes your fans, you just can't ever really get them as clean as they used to be. So I have, now it's a blue LED, so it's not the big a deal. It's blue anyway. And it's a 120 AF120 fan from Corsair. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to replace it with that just to give it a little bit of a better look. It needs all the help it can get. Okay, so I've got everything in there now. So we got a new power supply, which is really the biggest thing. Graphics card is in, the one is completely clean. I got to plug in the PCIe for the power for it. That's the only thing left. Everything else is good. I switched out this fan, so I'll give it a little color, just no biggie, but it's just, at least it's super clean. Cleaned some of these filters. Hard drive, I moved it up. It was down here. Really wasn't getting any air, so now it's getting more air. I'm going to swap that out for an SSD after. Got to clone it first, but that'll come afterward. And so basically, the Wi-Fi card is here, which will give it Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, which it did not have before. And yeah, just got a couple extra features. Everything is going to work great. I'm going to plug this in, and then we're going to turn it on and make sure I did everything right. Okay, so let's turn it back on. Hopefully it doesn't make that god-awful noise it was making before. If it does, well, I'm going to be spending some more time. Here we go. Oh, helps to turn the power supply on. Now we'll try it. Oh, actually looks pretty cool starting up. Got a little bit of life, a little bit of color to it. But more importantly, it's so much quieter, as it should be. And of course, we're waiting for the boot. And it's going to recognize the fact that the Wi-Fi adapter is in there. And hopefully assign a driver for it. If not, I'll have to go in and do that. Okay, so we're up. For some reason it shut down the first time. These things can happen. And then it's restarted going into Windows. So not exactly sure what happened there, but obviously I have some testing to do before I give this back to anybody, because that's not okay. But we still have to clone the SSD once I've done that. It could be it was searching for that driver too, because if it's looking for the driver and didn't recognize it, sometimes that can cause issues with Windows. Like so many things can cause issues with Windows. And it's probably recognizing the fact that there's Wi-Fi and might want to do some updates that probably haven't been done in a very long time. Yep, so if yours does this, don't panic. I know it bothers me because I'm like, well, what's going on? But it's just Windows doing Windows. Like how much faster that was pretty incredible, actually. So testing to do. I've got a bunch of more stuff to do. Of course, I have cable management to do as well, because that's not done. Because I want it to be as pristine as possible. Now remember, this is starting faster just because of some things, but it's still running off the old hard drive. So when I put the SSD in it, it'll be a lot more noticeable. And one more thing I did check is how much of the hard drive space was actually being used. They're only actually using like 89 gigabyte. And part of that was 32 or so was the operating system, so hardly anything at all. So putting an SSD in here, that's the right move in my opinion. Alright everybody, that's the video. So pretty much took an old system, revitalized it with an SSD, 1 terabyte, swapped everything, cleaned everything. It still runs. It does what she wants, which is just go on the internet, play some like minor games and all that kind of stuff. You actually could play pretty high-end games up to a certain point with the graphics card that's in it. It's still not a bad one. It's all up and it's running, and that's it. So we're going to get off to another repair for the next video. So I'm pushing things off a little bit because these are people that need computers. They put off a long time getting them, and now it's time to upgrade them or rebuild a new one. So I'm going to be starting off doing that, and I'll show you what that is in the next video. So if you like it, hit that like. If you're new here, think about subscribing. Hit that bell for notifications so you can see videos as they come up, because there's lots of them coming. And let me know what you think. Leave a comment down below. Anything you want to see coming up, and I will try and get to it as soon as I can. This was a blast. Haven't seen a computer that old in a long time. Replaced the CPU with new thermal paste. Had a brand new Intel stock cooler, so because she didn't need anything fancy. So that's on there, and temperatures are fine. And I've had it running for like 2 days now, 3 days, round the clock, and no problems. I've done some stress testing, and for an old system, it's running pretty darn good. It was an i5 or 7750, I believe it was. So you know, it's definitely old, but just because you're old doesn't mean you don't work. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you in the next one.